Hello and welcome to today's news on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. I'm starting with Vanguard of the paper review. Vanguard is leading with Dangote quake, Farouk falls. Komalafe also quit job at NUPRC. Tinubu nominates successor, seeks Senate approval. So you can see that story on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. On page 29, arrest prosecute those funding insecurity. That's coming from Labour. Why NDIC revoked our sale contract with Senator Bunza, says the MD. Top banner on page 8. You can't tax hunger, opposition tells Tinubu. Court bars Inspector General of Police, MPF, from enforcing tinted glass permit policy nationwide. Federal government confirms release of Nigerian aircraft, soldiers after Toga meets Burkina Faso leader. Lastly, on Vanguard newspaper, Tinubu writes a National Assembly seeks approval of 43.56 trillion naira reenactment of budget. Away from Vanguard, we move to the Punch. The Punch major headline says petrol war fallout, NMDPRA, NUPRC bosses resign as Dangote's petition rocks sector. Downstream tension grows as marketers fear business collapse. Experts say oil new regulators may feel threatened by Dangote. You can see that on page 2. On page 3, jump to accredit 1,039 CBT centers for 2026 at UTME. Fred storm brews over new tax law. Malami cakes after EFCC raids Kebbi, Abuja homes. Page 7 has that story. And still on page 7, we have federal government bans wood export revokes licenses. Top banner, 4 investors push for Lagos Calabar Highway concession. Salaries, debts, service go up other than 5% of government revenue. Away from the Punch newspaper, we move to The Guardian. The Guardian major headline says tax reforms pull back. Revenue crisis threatening the 2026 fiscal plan. You can see that on page 6. Fault lines threatening constitutional reforms consensus as reps vote today. Page 6 has that story on news page 29. SGF suspends enforcement on alcohol sachet, PET bottles ban. Nigerian, Central Europe launch new chamber to promote trade investment. You can see that on business page 18. And lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, at nationwide protests, NLC demands prosecution of financiers and to insecurity. You can see that on news page 3. And lastly, the nation's major airline says 2024-2025 budget. Tinubu 6 nod to spend 43.56 trillion naira. Lawmakers okay presentation of 2026 appropriation bill tomorrow. News page 2 as a story. And on the front page, we have Ahmed quit after Dangote's corruption allegation. NUPRC CEO Komalafe resigns. President replaces oil agencies chiefs. And the story is on the front page and it continues on page 2. On page 3, court seeks out of tax law takeoff. It has left 600 billion naira, says Fubara. At top left corner of the Nation newspaper, Labour stages protest over kidnapping, banditry. Court bars police from enforcing tinted permit policy. EFCC searches ex-Attorney General of Federation Malami's Abuja, KB Homes offices. Lastly, on the Nation newspaper, federal government builds stronger economic fundamentals despite revenue shortfall. You can see that on page 26 of the Nation newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies. Join us after the break for a brief analysis of some of the stories. Welcome back. If you are just joining me, this is today the news on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. Oil and gas industry was yesterday thrown into confusion as the chief executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC engineer Gbenga Komolafe, and his downstream counterpart at the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA engineer Farouk Ahmed, resigned from their offices. The two agencies, NUPRC and NMDPRA, have statutory responsibility of ensuring compliance with petroleum laws, regulations, and guidelines in the upstream and downstream, respectively. Engineers Komolafe and Engineer Ahmed were appointed CEOs of NUPRC and NMDPRA in September 2021 by former President Muhammadu Buhari following the enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act (PIA). The two served in these positions and reported directly to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who doubles as the petroleum minister until their resignations yesterday. The NMDPRA boss was recently dragged to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) by industrialist Aliko Dangote. And earlier on Sunday, Alhaji Dangote accused the NMDPRA leadership headed by Ahmed of economic sabotage, alleging that regulatory actions were undermining local refining capacity in Nigeria. And Dangote claimed that the continued issuance of import licenses for petroleum products is frustrating domestic refiners and entrenching dependence on the import. And there's more to that story. You can get that inside our Vanguard newspaper. Now, away from there, we move to talk about the labor. Now, the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) yesterday staged a nationwide protest over worsening insecurity in the country, insisting the federal government must urgently deploy the full machinery of governance to reclaim communities, protect workers, and restore public confidence. They also asked the government to ensure that all those behind the funding of insecurity are arrested and prosecuted. In Abuja, the protests following every security deployment terminated abruptly as the protesters who came out in their numbers were not allowed to go beyond the Ministry of Finance, which is just a few meters from the Labour House. The protest commenced between 11:15 a.m. and 11:39 a.m., but NLC President Comrade Joe Ajaero and other top Labour leaders were not seen during the procession as they were locked in a closed-door meeting that had lasted several hours. And earlier, the leader of the Revolutionary Now movement, Omoyole Sowore, was cited at the Labour House in solidarity with the NLC before the commencement of the procession. And of course, you can get that inside the Vanguard newspaper and also on our website. Now, let's end this on a lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. this morning. And the first person speaking today is Mr. Mr. says that today is my birthday. I pray that God deals with all terrorists in our land. And Mrs. replied, including those who terrorize our homes with big boobs and backsides. Happy birthday. Trust Mrs. Mrs. must surely add our own prayers, but those prayers are also necessary. Happy Mrs. Well, this is where we have to draw the curtain today. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. You can also visit our website, www.vanguardnigeria.com. Have a lovely Thursday.